Welcome to the Dowden Podcast. I'm your host, the official CRG, and today we are going to talk about why it's so important for you to start to take control over your depression in order to really change your life. But before we get started, make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. That way you don't miss any weekly episodes and posts. You can find video of this episode strictly on YouTube, but the audio everywhere else. Now, when it comes to just really trying to take control over your depression and really just change your life, this definitely isn't an easy thing to do and has genuinely taken me the majority of my life to try and figure out. But I promise you, the sooner you do it and you really start to take control, the better off you are going to be entirely. Because you see, I have struggled with major depression my entire life. It has had a factor in literally every single little thing I would do. Whether it's my confidence, my motivation, my thoughts, my dreams, you name it. My depression has had a say because there was one point in time where it literally controlled my day to day life and my overall goals, having me just want to stop everything entirely and give up because I was letting that depression win. Because I was listening to all of these intrusive thoughts and really just fighting these silent battles on a day to day basis. I was really just losing who I was and going into this numbness mentality to where nothing really even mattered anymore. And I was at this for a long time. Like pretty much my whole teens, I was stuck in that mentality until I turned 19 years old and just started to realize, like, hey, like this isn't going to change itself. And if you really want to live your life, if you really want to reach that full potential and really chase those real goals, then you have to start to take control. Because most of my teens, I was stuck in that numbness mentality. I was doing crazy stuff. I was getting into trouble because I didn't care, because I let that depression dictate every single little thing. And the easiest way for me to face that depression was to just shut down completely. But because of that, it drove me in the wrong path. Like I said, I made the bad decisions, I got in trouble. And the only real way that I was going to change my life and truly get out of these situations was by taking full control over that depression and stop letting it win. So that's exactly what I went and did. I then would go and apply myself differently. When it came to certain situations where those intrusive thoughts would come, instead of listening to them, I would fight back against them. I wouldn't believe them. I would then tell myself I could do it, that I was worthy of it. When I was faced with certain situations or certain people wanted to hang out, I would go and tell them no, because I knew with the numbness mentality that I was at, I was ready to do anything. I was ready to put myself out there. I was ready to go have fun. I was ready to be a crash out. But the only way that I was going to change my life was to change my mentality. And in order to change my mentality, I then had to change my surroundings. So it really all does come hand in hand. But learning how to just take control of that depression is so crucial because it has such a big say on your day to day life if you let it. So, if you're struggling with depression and you're having a hard time changing your life just like I did, then now is the time to really sit down with yourself and start figuring out ways that you can take control. When those intrusive thoughts come, start challenging them, start telling yourself you are good enough, you are worthy, you can make it happen. If it's like my situation and it's around certain friends, start telling those friends no in order to really change your life. Whatever the situation is, therapy, medication, you name it. You just need to find a way to start taking control over that depression because it is so easy to get lost in the negativity. It's so easy for this stuff to engulf you because we go through so much 24/7. But if you genuinely want to change your life, you genuinely want to make a change, you want to reach that full potential, you want to break this loop, you want to reach those real goals, then you absolutely have to start taking control. You have to start looking at this depression as almost as like your strength instead of a weakness. Because if you can go through all of these mental battles 24/7, 365, big and small, and still find a way to overcome them, still find a way to put that next foot forward, then there is no reason why you can't overcome anything else in your life. You just have to start changing your outlook on it, start taking control, and really apply yourself. Because if I, out of all people, can get out of that mental state, get out of that really dark depression, and still find a way to keep going, then so can you. But with that said, today's quote is by Dan Millman. He once said, "You don't have to control your thoughts, you just have to stop letting them control you." I appreciate you tuning in. You can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And this is the Dowdham Podcasts.